Hello everyone, I'm here today with a new process video. I'm working with some photos from my train travels album, and this was as I was getting ready to leave La Crosse, Wisconsin. When I walked back to the station, it was just before sunset. You can see here the lights started coming on because the sun was going down, and then by the time the train arrived, it was pretty dark. Not total. I mean, you can see it was still some blue back there, so not pitch dark, but it was getting there. It was fairly late at night. When you take this train going westward, so going towards Minneapolis, St. Paul, it gets in at almost 11 o'clock at night. My first order of business here is to go through some embellishment things because I know I have things that are train related, so I want to get those out. And then I also have my stamp set that's all about transportation, and it has things specific to trains on there, so I want to get those as well. So I'm going to gather all that and then I'll be back. I've actually grabbed out two stamp sets. I grabbed this one as well. This is a newer one I have. It came in a kit, a mini book kit, if I remember right, from Everyday Explorers. That's who makes this, but I think it did come as part of a kit, not separately. And I like some of the things that are on here. And so I thought, okay, well, maybe there's something here that I could use as well. So I grabbed it just in case. But then, of course, I have this one. This is also from Everyday Explorers. And I love that it has all the different train travel options. So I may use that as well. But I know I have some ephemera of some type, different things that say train. The problem is I don't know if the colors are going to be suitable. So I am going to look through my stuff for that, and hopefully I'll find something. All right, I want to show a couple of things that I found because I feel like they could be interesting. Now, the first I'm going to show I'm not actually going to use, but I forgot I kind of had this, and I'm not going to use it for this because the color doesn't really match and it shows mountains and trees, but I took a trip to Seattle and we took the train all the way back from Seattle to Minnesota, and we were up in the mountains and saw green and snow on the trees and that kind of stuff. So I'm actually going to save this and I'm going to put it in my Seattle bin. I actually haven't started one yet, but I will. I'm going to drop that in there so I have it. But here are some other things I actually found for these photos. I have this little piece of ephemera that says boarding pass, and I love that it's got some gold foil. The blue isn't too far off from that. I'm not sure it works as well over here because of the dark blue, but I think the foil works well with these gold tones here, so I'm willing to consider it. I pulled this frame that I have because I felt like maybe it would look good over this to bring in more of that gold and even a little bit of an orangey tone here. I'm not crazy about the ledger look, but then I was thinking, oh, maybe that would be okay, like old-time train ledger, writing down the train times for arrival and departure. So I'm not sure that that's going to work. Also, I should say a lot depends on like whatever background I find for this, because I need a 6x8 piece of paper behind this, and I don't have that yet. But I'm still going to keep this in mind. I also found this, which I thought was cute because, again, it looks kind of like an old-time tag there, and I love that it says travelogue. I could write something there like departing Crosse or something like that if I wanted to, and again, I feel like this color is good with this, maybe not so much here, but maybe that would help to have them, you know, sort of diagonal from each other and they both appear in there. So I have that. I have this, if I can pick it up, this little arrow piece that says departures. Now it's black, which isn't exactly what I wanted, but there is some black there is some here. Again, I think it really depends on the background that I end up with here. Oops. I also have this little piece that says travelogue, and I love that it's got the blue and the green because there are green tones happening in the trees. There's a little reflection there that's green. I also have this one that just shows the different directions. Again, the blue is fairly close, but I forgot I found two things in here, and I forgot kind of about this old ephemera pack that I had from Fancy Pants. And it's, again, one of those things where, like, if it's not in front of me, I forget that it exists. Are you like that? It's definitely in my travel stuff. I just don't always remember to look in there for it. So I don't even remember, like, how old this is. It's got to be, I'm sure, at least 5 years old. But in there, I found two things. I found this, which the colors are pretty close to what's in here, and even here isn't bad. I would cut off this part. This is date and purpose. I don't feel like I need it, but if you cut it here, it looks like a ticket and the colors work, so that's awesome. But then look at this. There's actually a train car in there, and I think it's made to look like Amtrak because it even has the stripes. Now, the only problem is the colors are all wrong. The gray is fine, but this turquoisey aqua color, I don't know why they did that. Why would you not just do the actual colors, red and blue, to make that work with the photos? So I'm not sure that I can make that work on here just given the color choices, but I don't know, we'll see. In looking at all the stuff I have, I think I'm definitely going to use this ticket and this frame because the colors match, and I gotta be honest, I have a hard time using these. For those of you that have frames like this, do you find that they're hard to use, or do you really love them? I kind of bought them on a whim. They were on sale, and I was like, you know what? It'll force me to try it because it's out of my comfort zone. So if that was my line of thinking, then I need to actually do it. So I think I'm going to make sure those two are incorporated, and then I'll just have to figure out the background to make it work with all this. I also decided I'm not going to use the train. I think, again, I may save this for Seattle because I know I have a photo when we're approaching King Street Station that's just brown, like of the building. It's just a shot from the outside. I could maybe make this work with that because if I don't have like conflicting red and blue along with this, I think that's a better option. Brown is more of a neutral. So I'm going to save that and also add that to my Seattle bin. I have some 6x8 papers from Paper Person. It was in a travel kit that I bought, and I was looking through there to see would any of these be appropriate, and I do kind of like this, but I think I want to save this for New York because it's got the bridge on there. I think it's supposed to be New York. I know she's personally traveled to New York a lot and used to live there, and the rest of these didn't quite work with what I wanted, but there was one paper. It may seem boring, but I think I'm actually going to use it. It's another ledger one, and it's in the blue that I think isn't too far off from this, but it also works with this background. And then I have two kind of ledger styles. It feels like maybe it was more meant to go together that way if I use both. And it gives me a white background. So I think that's good. I did cut down my ticket. However, now it's kind of white on white. So I wouldn't be opposed to backing this on something, perhaps a lighter blue, and then maybe I can work in this as well somehow, like layer it. I think that might be cool. So for now, at least, I'm going with that. All right, I've done a couple of things here. I grabbed out some lighter blue washi that I have because I figured it was probably close enough match and it would bring in some of this, and I was right. It's a little bit darker than this, but I think it goes very well with the tag. So I did it from the right hand side, and then I also took a strip and did it on the left hand side here. This is not totally adhered because I wasn't sure if I was gonna like it. So there's just a little mono behind there to hold that down. But I do like it, and so what I think I'm going to do is probably like keep this as it is, put a staple in there so it really stays down, but I don't want too much adhesive here because you'll see it, because this is pretty opaque. So I'm going to do that, and then I do like the look of these, and I may just do it like that because I've got a lot of dead space on the photo on the platform here. I could just, kind of overlap, in some way like that, and then it still leaves me room to journal if I want. There's a lot of space here where I could stamp something here and then bring in that black and then stamp over here as well. So I'm happy with the way it's coming together. I'm not quite sure how it's all going to look in the end, but at least I've got it going and I'm happy with the direction, no pun intended. I'm going to try something and I'm a little nervous about it. I want to stamp in white. I have the Brilliance Moonlight White ink, which I use all the time, but it's always kind of a gamble to use this. I want to try it right here on the background in this dead space because I have this stamp that says at the station, and I thought about using it in black. I think it would be way too much because of the background. It's full, whereas this way that'll be white. and the brown will show through. So I'm going to try it. Now, I am lucky in the fact that if I screw it up or I don't like the way it looks, I could reprint, pull the staples, it would probably be fine. But I also could just put a big embellishment over it or a big label that, you know, says something about the station, whatever. But I'm willing to at least try. Oops. So just want to show you if you've never used this. This is what the inside looks like. It does come with a little cover to keep it away from your other stuff, because these tend to be very juicy. So like if you were to accidentally go oops and drop that somewhere, it will get everywhere. And because this isn't like a stays-on ink, it does take longer to dry. So if you're going to use this, it's great ink, but just be really careful with it. So I just want to show you, I did a test to see what the stamping here would look like on brown, because that's what I've got going here. And it like didn't show up at all. So not going to do that. Thank goodness I tested. So I don't feel like this is a good stamp to use either. Now, with that being said, I could still use my white ink maybe up here to do something. And I would consider it, but I've got a lot of white going already. So not sure that this is going to get used after all, but you never know. We'll just see how things go. I decided to do some stamping in black instead, and so I did this little stamp here that just says notes from here, and it's from this set. It was that one, and that's fine. And it did bring in a little of the black, which I like. So when these sit next to each other, I'll have that there. I'm thinking about maybe a visual triangle, so I'll have to do something probably here and then something down here to make it part of this cluster. I have decided to really lean into the kind of yellowy gold thing. So I have picked out this label. I've also leaned hard into the ledger theme because I've got that kind of happening here too. So I'm going to just take this and hang it off the side there. And I've decided, I think I'm just going to stamp this little train. I don't need the rest of what it says, but just the little icon there. And then I will put that on the label. All right, that's stamped perfectly. So I'm just going to cut it, and then it leaves me enough of this part here where I could save that. I could do something else with it. So that's always. All right, so I have all of that done. You can see that attached there. And I put in 2 staples here to match the 2 over here, so that's good. And now I'm going to do my last little bit, which is some more stamping. And this stamp, it's a little hard to see here, but it says back to reality, because I was heading home here and my fun day trip was over, so I feel like that's appropriate. All right, so I added a couple of things to finish this off. I did my stamping, and then I haven't done this in a while, but I decided to actually do some like shadow stamping, or where you stamp a second time. I can't remember what the actual term for that is, if there is one, but that's what I did there, and I'm happy with that. I like the faded look to it, but this up here felt really blank, and so I decided to do a little bit of gold ink splattering, and I think that did help so that it's not just so plain and white. So I think this one is finally done. So here's another one finished for my train travels. Thanks for watching.